Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is our great pleasure to welcome you to the second International Conference on Sustainable Futures, Environmental, Technological, Social and Economic Matters. I will talk about the intergovernmental relations and their regulation in the context of the centralization of fiscal policy. The presentation covers the following issues: introduction, methodological foundations, discussions, which includes foreign experience of fiscal arrangement and the peculiarities of the countries of the Caucasus and the Black Sea region in fiscal arrangement, also research results, conclusions and recommendations. The research question is relevant in the modern world because the suspension of economic relations as a result of the global pandemic has severely affected the country's peripheries. Unequal development of territorial units and overcoming socio-economic problems is the biggest challenge of any country. To address these challenges, the country needs to mobilize large amounts of finance and make optimal allocations. Intergovernmental relations play an important role in the effective implementation of the transformation of the country's economic and political system. So, the aim of the paper is to study the characteristics of revenue mobilization and distribution between the levels of the fiscal system. In order to minimize socio-economic inequality between different territorial units, it is necessary to analyze the welfare conditions of the regions and adopt legal norms. So, the paper based on following methodological foundations: the Local Self-Government Code of Georgia, the Budget Code of Georgia, the Tax Code of Georgia, the Law of Georgia on grants and the Law of Georgia on local fees. The theoretical methodological basis of the research is the papers of various scientists on the research problem, where the intergovernmental relations, financial mechanisms for the development of territorial units, the characteristics of state fiscal arrangement model. This includes works by A. M. Duda, Erlin, Anikolov, Ijobauer, Gazatulin, Klein, Sao, Stier, and others. These scientists have identified problems in this field, but the fiscal arrangement and fiscal system require continuous improvement in research. According to the Budget Code of Georgia, the legislation was limited to listing the sources of revenue of territorial budgets and ignored a number of methodological and organizational issues of intergovernmental relations. In particular, the rights and responsibilities of each level in revenue mobilization and spending are not clearly defined. Also, the division of taxes between the center and the budgets of the regions is not strictly defined, as well as the issue of economic subsidies and many other things. All of this leads to numerous misunderstandings and difficulties between the center and other levels of budgets. It seems in the amount of tax revenue mobilization at the budget levels and their ratio to GDP. The analysis of international experience was also important in the research process. The fiscal system of Germany as a state with a high degree of decentralization includes 3 levels: federal, land and local. As the diagram shows, the German local government finances its own expenditures mainly from the local budget, whose tax revenues account for about 13.5% of total national tax revenues. The Austrian fiscal system is divided into 3 levels: central government, land and local self-government. In accordance with the budget law, the amounts received from the income tax are distributed in the following proportions: 60 of the funds go to the central budget, 22 to the land budgets, and 18 to the local self-government budgets. Also, 60 million of value-added tax go to the central budget, 19 to the state budget, and 12 to the local government budget. France, although a unitary state, is divided into regions, departments, and municipalities. Municipalities and departments receive revenue from all taxes, while the region is financed by land and business taxes. The tax revenues of the three levels of the budget of France is shown in the diagram. The central government has delegated important powers to all three levels of regional government: region, department, commune, planning and developing areas such as infrastructure, education, health, culture, regional economic development, employment, etc., which are financed from local budget revenues. Like France, the unitary parliamentary republic is Italy, which is divided into regions, provinces, and municipalities. Management functions are distributed at all levels. The ratio of tax revenues in the budget of Italy in 2005-2018 to the country's GDP is shown in the diagram. It is very high, and 60 million of tax revenues remaining in local self-government budgets. As of the counties are amounts received from taxes 68, transfers 7, amounts received from fees and taxes 25. The sum of tax revenues of the central budget of Estonia in 2014 is 656,949 euros, which is characterized by a growing trend in the coming years, and by 2018 it amounted to 821,243 euros. Poland was one of the first to make the transition from the post-socialist system to the European system, which from the very beginning focused on the development of self-government and, unlike many other Eastern European countries, made it a priority to move to a decentralized model. Today, it is one of the most decentralized countries in Europe, and it is far ahead of many European countries. The territorial arrangement of Poland is based on three levels: region, side, and municipality. The sources of revenue generation for each level are: 1. Own revenues, mainly local taxes, the rate of which is set by the local government based on the right granted by law. However, at the same time, the maximum rate is set by Parliament to shared income and profit taxes. 3. Basic and special transfers. The ratio of fiscal levels to budget revenues in relation to the country's GDP is as follows: Figure 11. Azerbaijan is a unitary, partially decentralized state. Local self-government operates only at the lowest level, the level of the municipality. According to the Constitution, municipalities have the right to impose local taxes and fees. Local taxes are land tax, property tax, profit tax, which is taxed on municipal property. The share of all taxes and fees in the local budget is about 25. Tax revenues are a major part of them, about 22, while the share of transfers in local budgets is about 10-13. In Turkey, municipal expenditures account for 11 of total state expenditures and revenues for 7. Municipalities are funded from three main sources: 42 from general government taxes, 6.8 from utility taxes, 35.5 from non-tax revenues, and 10 from local taxes. The central government collects the following types of taxes: personal income tax, corporate income tax, profit tax, and value-added tax. Local governments are left with 9.25 of the collected income taxes. Real estate tax accounts for 54.9 of tax revenues collected by local governments. Based on the research, The following results were revealed: a general decline in production, which leads to a reduction in budget revenues. Limited economic base in rural areas, which is manifested, first of all, in the absence of profitable enterprises in the territories. Changes in municipal ownership caused by the transfer of social sphere facilities to local administrations. Uncertainty in the status of branches of enterprises and organizations located in the district's restriction of rights to natural resources of local authorities. Due to the simplicity of property tax administration, in almost all European countries, property taxes go entirely to the local budget, as it is shown on the diagram. Based on the research, solve the following problems are needed: expanding the tax base of the area, ensuring social equality in the distribution of subsidies, and the implementation of social protection measures for the population. Resolve the territorial issues related to the relations between the local administration and the governing bodies of the Republic. It should be noted that only a few developed countries have reached local government autonomy in revenue, and local budget revenues are highest in Sweden, France, Italy, Germany, Poland, and the Czech Republic. Fig. 8. In conclusion, there are developed some recommendations for improving inter-budgetary relations based on the experience of different countries. The recommendations proposed as a result of the research analysis can be used for both theoretical for lecture and practical for legislative purposes. Extended tax discretion of the self-government. Local governments should have the authority to impose both direct and indirect taxes. Basic tax categories should be introduced. One is not sufficient: property tax. Such segregation/attribution of tax revenues will minimize redistribution processes and establish a stable relationship between the center and the municipalities. Establishment of fixed interest rates for tax revenue sharing based on the starting economic indicators of self-governing units. In this case, tax revenues are divided between the autonomous state and local budgets according to certain types/percentages. This method will increase the ability to optimally allocate resources. Regions under the influence of the center receive certain budgetary tax benefits by differentiating their respective interest rates. Thank you very much for attention.